The KelTec Sub2000 can be described as the love child of an anorexic AR-15 and an MP5. Only someone heavily enjoying booger sugar would come up with such an idea and actually produce it. That is precisely why I love the folks over there at KelTec. Now, let's look at a brief history of KelTec. George Kellgren is a Swedish-born firearms designer and inventor. In 1991, he founded the gun manufacturer KelTec. Just a few years after founding KelTec, he began producing semi-auto pistols, rifles, and then shotguns. In 2001, the Sub2000 model was created, and a few years later, the second generation was released. The second generation, being an aesthetic upgrade over the first model, was a polarizing rifle. That is to say, people either loved it or hated it. There was no in-between. Even more recently, the Gen 3 version was released for the 2024 market. All three rifles have the capability to fold down into a much smaller form factor. Now that we are done talking about the history, let's get into the review. KelTec isn't known to make aesthetically pleasing rifles, and the Sub2000 is no exception. From its hard, bumpy stock to its unusual-looking rail system, it's no wonder why many may have a disdain towards this pistol-caliber carbine. If KelTec was running for ugliest rifle competition, it would win almost every time. With its plastic-feeling upper receiver and rail system, to its cold, metallic buffer tube and barrel, it can be difficult to dismiss this little PCC as anything more than an amalgamation of plastic, some metal, and bolts. On the contrary, I would argue that its unique design lends a peek into the many possibilities that firearm manufacturing has in store. Where others may find ugliness, I find sleekness and innovation. KelTec is known to push the bounds of design, and I respect them for that. I know I've been a bit harsh, but that's reality. A lot of people simply don't like the firearm. KelTec will always have a special place in my heart. Let's talk about the stock. It comes with a bare-bones 3-position adjustable synthetic stock with a small loop and a slit for a sling. It features a tiny Picatinny rail segment on the bottom of it for some reason. On the back, it features some large grooves and no padding whatsoever, which causes the recoil of this firearm to kick you just a bit more. On the top, it has a retaining clip which is used to secure the firearm in the closed position. The waffle-style pattern that is consistent throughout the firearm exists on the stock as well. The stock hugs the buffer tube quite closely, not raising your head when aiming down the firearm. The buffer tube is small and will actually act as your cheek rest partially. Yes, you heard me right. The stock and buffer tube are both so small and close together that both are used as support when aiming down the firearm. It comes with what I like to call an MP5 style charging handle. Although I know it may be considered sacrilegious to call it that, I always enjoy the feeling of slapping that charging handle down to chamber a round. It's a poor man's charging slap, if you will. Let's move on to the receiver. I'll just call this whole section the receiver, since the rifle is built like that. The receiver continues the waffle-style pattern on the grip. The polymer receiver has a crossbolt safety, a mag release, the rear sight, trigger, and the mechanism to take down the firearm. I have to admit that the crossbolt safety and the mag release are in weird spots, and that takes some getting used to. There has been more than one occasion that I've accidentally hit the mag release thinking I was hitting the safety, thus accidentally dropping the mag. How embarrassing. The mag release is not ambidextrous, so left-handed users will just have to make do. The takedown mechanism is incorporated in the trigger guard by pulling out on the guard. You allow the rifle to be folded in half. Upon opening the rifle back up, it will secure itself back in place with a loud click. This firearm is a gas blowback design, which adds a bit of kick as well as gas escaping around the ejection port. The Sub2000 comes in a few different variants, however, this one is a 9mm and takes Glock mags. The standard capacity is 17+1, however, it can take any Glock magazine 17 rounds and up. Moving on to the barrel. It has the ambidextrous lever-actuated folding rear peep sight and an adjustable front sight post. It has a 16-inch threaded barrel with no gas tube due to it being a gas blowback design. No gas system means a smaller profile barrel system. The rail has Picatinny on top and the bottom, as well as an M-lock on the sides. I will admit that the M-lock on the polymer rail isn't the best option for attaching things to the rifle. It also has a waffle pattern and hand grip near the back of the barrel. I find that mildly convenient as a place to put a hand even if I don't usually use it. Let's circle back to the trigger. I've decided to leave this on its own due to the fact that it's one of the worst triggers on the market. No really, it's mushy, slow, springy, and plasticky. I'm not sure you can get a worse trigger if you poured sand into the trigger group. Does it work? Yes. Does it work well? No. It has about an inch of travel till you hit the wall, and then an additional quarter inch of mush past the wall till it finally breaks. Now let's move on to some overall observations. First observation is that it is surprisingly accurate right out of the box. Like, I was hitting dimes out at 50 yards freehand. This rifle is super light and bare bones. I like that. It fits well in a backpack and in its folded configuration, which makes it perfect for a hiking or camping gun. If your workplace allows it, it would even be a great candidate for a suitcase carry firearm. The stock tends to dig into your shoulder a little bit when you shoot it a lot. I know you might think that 9mm shouldn't hurt, but it's blowback, so it will kick a little bit more than a standard 9mm. With that blowback, as a left-handed shooter, I get a lot of gas in my face and brass on my arm. With your face that low to the action as a left-handed individual, all that gas gets expelled straight into my face. You get used to it after a while, and I don't really mind it, but it's something to keep in mind if you're left-handed. The sights themselves are extremely low and close to the bore, which may contribute to its surprising accuracy. However, you won't be able to wear over-the-ear protection while shooting it. The thread protector at the end of the barrel tends to shoot itself loose over time, so that will require a few dots of Loctite to secure it up. Due to the fact that the rifle folds upwards, it presents a challenge for mounting any type of optic on it. You can't mount an optic on it normally without it interfering with the rifle closing. If you want to both have the rifle folded and have an optic, you will have to use a folding optic mount that is currently available on the market. My last observance is that, at least for me, it has tended to rust a bit easily. Now that may be due to my own negligence, however, it is something to keep in mind. Let's quickly talk about whether or not you should purchase this rifle. There are a few things to consider when purchasing this rifle. Firstly, you will most likely be judged by others, no matter what philosophy you have behind owning it. There is a stigma of Sub-2000 owners being newbies, unexperienced, and uneducated. Whether that describes you or not, you will get that mental judgment from some individuals. Secondly, why are you purchasing the firearm? If it fulfills a specific niche, then that's great. However, if you are purchasing this to be a serious, trustworthy battle rifle, I am not sure that would be the best decision. I would probably recommend getting a different rifle altogether. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love this little rifle. However, even I recognize its weaknesses and what its capabilities are. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there is a Gen 3 that KelTec just released. My honest recommendation is that if you are set on getting a Sub-2000, you should wait a few months after the Gen 3 has been out and see if there are any major problems plaguing it. A big benefit to the Gen 3 is the way that it folds allows for optics without special mounts. You can throw an optic on it and still fold it. My experience with the Sub-2000 has been nothing short of awesome. Despite all that has been said negative about it, the little rifle has performed wonderfully for me. I have had a handful of malfunctions in the thousands of rounds that I've put through it, mostly due to not cleaning the rifle or bad ammo. I always have loved this little rifle, and I always will. Does it replace an AR-15? Absolutely not. But it's a weird gun, and I have a bit of an affinity towards weird or unusual firearms. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it just makes me happy. I hope KelTec continues to innovate and produce even more booger sugar gun babies. In conclusion, I absolutely love this little PCC, and I've been wanting one since I was 15. To me, it is the little rifle that could. Despite all its negative press and opinions, it works. I was so happy when I was able to add this to my collection years ago, and I hope you can add it to yours as well. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. That pretty much does it. I love this little rifle. It really has a special place in my heart, and it always will. It's not perfect, but I really like what it can do. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. All of you guys' support has been wonderful. And make sure to leave down below what you guys think about this rifle. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.